The unique mind of Kyle Mooney, formerly of SNL, asked the question, what if the Y2K bug was real and all technology rose up to try and kill the humans? Let's talk about the new horror comedy, Y2K. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new film Y2K. This was directed by Kyle Mooney in his first effort as a director. It was co-written by him as well with his partner Evan Winter. And Jonah Hill has a producer credit here, which makes some sense given some of the subject matter. We'll get into that momentarily. But first, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are one of my subscribers already, I certainly appreciate that. Thank you for returning. But if you're not, please consider subscribing. Click that notification bell so you can get the alerts for all my drops as well. But you could just like this video too, or comment below. Let me know your thoughts on this movie. Or do you remember when Y2K panic was sort of upon us, and everyone was talking about, oh my God, what's going to happen when the clock strikes midnight on January 1st? Are we going to live in darkness? You know, all technology is going to just cease to exist. There's going to be these glitches. It won't know what year it is. And all of that, of course, that did not come to be. But this movie posits the theory, what if it did? And essentially, this is about these teenagers, different groups of teenagers at this party, celebrating the new year. And at midnight, within a few seconds, the lights go out and the killings begin. And some of these teenagers do not survive the party, and a handful of them are able to get away and sort of join forces, even though they are from sort of other, different cliques and factions of high school. They have to band together to not only escape, the technology that's after them, but they are heading to the motherboard area to try and stop any further killings and attacks from these machines. And we learn as the movie goes on exactly what the machines are intending for the humans, but I won't get into that. But let's talk about the cast for a second. Jaden Martell plays Eli, and we know him from a lot of different things, but he's done some horror stuff in his past. It Chapter 2 and Mr. Harrigan's Phone on Netflix, which I think might have also been Stephen King. But we first met him, at least I did, I think, in this movie St. Vincent with Melissa McCarthy and Bill Murray. You have Rachel Ziegler playing Laura, who is Eli's, crush, his love interest. She is a very popular kid, very smart, especially with computers, which comes in handy, but she is very, very popular and a bit out of his league, per se. And we know Rachel Ziegler mostly for her singing roles. She was in West Side Story. She was in the recent Hunger Games prequel. Was that called Songbirds and Snakes? But she sang in that, and then she's going to be Snow White next year. So, of course, she's going to be doing some singing there. So, no singing for her in this one, but we may know her from mostly her singing roles. Julian Dennison appears as Danny, who is Eli's best friend, and they're sort of, the nerdy kids, the outsiders. But it's funny, we get into the party and we see a bunch of the different groups. At that point in time, the ska revival was still going on a little bit. So we see like the ska kids, we see the new metal heads like the Korn, Limp Bizkit group. We see the jocks and all of that. So it was interesting to see kind of all those different groups. The druggies and the popular kids, and 5 or 6 different kind of rooms we enter in, and each one playing like a different tune from the time. I thought that was kind of cool. One of the nice touches directorially from Kyle Mooney. And also you have a few other people that I don't want to sort of spoil. There's one person that makes a cameo that ends up sort of being a part of the crew. But you also have Kyle Mooney here himself as a video store owner, big into, the pot scene, the hallucinogen scene. And he is sort of friends a little bit with these kids because they go to the video store all the time. But you also have some side characters from Kid Laroi, Alicia Silverstone, and Mason Gooding. Certainly no stranger to horror movies himself with the Scream franchise. But, all right, so Y2K, this movie is a little bit all over the place. I mentioned that I kind of like that party vibe that we see, all the different styles of people we had sort of back then. But the first 20 minutes of this movie is really just super bad, which is why it really makes sense that Jonah Hill was a producer on this. There's, nothing happens in any sort of horror type of faction until the clock strikes midnight, about, I don't know, 20 minutes, I think, into the movie, something like that. But other than that, it's just basically Superbad. These nerds, want to go to this party. They want to get laid. They carry a condom around all the time. I mean, it's just essentially Superbad. So a bit uninspired there. Then when we get to the actual Y2K of it all, there's certainly some interesting killings there at the party. Some visceral stuff, and it's shot actually pretty well. For being in such a small space. Sometimes just in a room or in a garage. So it's pretty clever there. But my problem with this movie is that I think it doesn't quite know how far to take the joke. And is it in on the joke that this is a, sort of B horror movie, sort of a tongue-in-cheek horror movie? I think it is, because look, Kyle Mooney has got this really, I called it a unique mind in the opening, but, his stuff on SNL was very weird. It was very cerebral. It was off the beaten path. You could spot a Kyle Mooney sketch from a mile away because of its nature. And he sort of brings this a little bit to this movie, but I wasn't sure if it was enough. Like, I wasn't sure if the movie leaned in to that kind of camp factor enough. Certainly towards the end, and it gets like real kind of wild. Yes, I think it very much leans into that. But is it funny? I'm not sure. The horror aspect is okay. The comedy aspect, I think, is really, really spotty. And especially with that first 20 minutes being just, it's super bad. I'm just going to say it again. So in that, it's just things that we've seen before. Are these characters interesting enough? Sort of. I mean, I like that we're sort of, the teenagers that end up kind of surviving and going on the journey to stop the machines. You get a bunch of different factions and different cliques, kids from different areas sort of blending together. We've of course seen that before, but I like the remaining ones. They kill off some of the ones that are a little more annoying, let's say, and then you've got this cameo that turns into a supporting role, by the end of the movie, and that is, I think, the epitome of like, and I don't want to say who it is, because I think it's more fun to just watch it, but they sort of allude to it a little bit earlier in the movie, but that makes it like go full camp when I think the movie still isn't quite in that place yet. I don't know. So it was an interesting watch for me. I wish it was funnier. The kills were okay. I like the concept. I mean, certainly I remember that whole thing, when it happened. We didn't know what was going on. So I like the concept of it. But there's a few like flourishes that I bumped on, and like, for example, at the party, the Julian Dennison character is dancing to the thong song as part of the Y2K mix CD that was made. There's a lot of like Y2K, AOL, and there's a lot of 1999, 1998 type references here. But the thong song, the album came out in November of 99, sure, but the single and the music video didn't come out till like February or March of 2000. And I was pretty sure, but I looked it up to make sure. And they're all doing the dance from the video. And it's like, to me, that's just such an amateur mistake for a filmmaker. There are so many songs from 98 and 99 that you could have done that with. Like, I thought of No Scrubs by TLC. Like, that might have been a good one. But like, the thong song wasn't a hit at the time. Nobody knew, the video hadn't even existed yet. So that's just such a silly amateur mistake in my mind. And I know it's a little nitpicky, right? Because I'm a music guy and I was a program director in radio, so I know, like, the year things come out, whatever. But that to me just shows a little bit of carelessness. There's a lot of other videos you could have had in that vein, that you could have parodied the group dancing to. I don't know, but just that little carelessness at the party was like, all right, so are we just gonna have that lack of care throughout this movie? And I actually think it kind of did a little bit, unfortunately. So look, this was a mixed bag for me for sure. I think people that love the camp horror will find it enjoyable, but I leave Y2K with a C-. And look forward to more from Kyle Mooney, though, because I do like the way his mind works. It's certainly unlike anything else out there. All right, thank you for watching Dan Reviews It. I'll see you next time.